it's very personal to me, just because I've been involved with the firefighting community for a very long time, for 30 years. So, I started out as a volunteer firefighter, and I fought a couple of structural fires, and it wasn't so much the firefighting, but it was, or the training, it was the community. I liked the community. Those guys are hard guys, they're tough, and they don't accept people from the outside easily. They don't suffer fools, and I really like them I like that about them a lot. So when I started to spend time with them, it was like I don't know, man. It's like a mafia.
Yeah, it's a clique.
It's absolutely a clique, because it takes a certain kind of person to do that kind of thing, and however their lives individually were, once they got together, they were able to, they were able to kind of collectively create a bravery that enables them to do what they do, and that's put themselves in harm's way, where most people can't necessarily do that. I think if they're put in a position where they have to do that, a lot of people surprise themselves, but there's something about the unpredictability of a monster fire. Anything can happen at any time, so I think those guys are very conscious of that, and they train very hard in order to avoid any consequence of it.
Yeah. Well, as a volunteer, what drew you into to be a volunteer?
What did I have to do?
No, what drew you in? I mean...
Well, I had met a guy who was involved in airport fire, and I really liked him a lot. I kind of met him on the street randomly, and then I started hanging out with him and his crew, and then he started this volunteer fire department in Mescal, Arizona, and I worked at Mescal, so he lived in a trailer that had kind of this sinking roof that had duct tape on it, and I would sleep on his couch, and his wife and him and his small child lived on the other side of the trailer a little. And, I really enjoyed his company, and the more time I spent with him, the more time I spent with all the firefighters and all that, and that's how that kind of came to be.
When you go into meeting the real families of this, it might be, to me, I think it would be a little, not intimidating, but kind of, to try to tell their story and do them justice. And
yeah, it's always intimidating to tell somebody's story. Yeah. I've been fortunate, or maybe unfortunate, to tell a lot of people who were around. I mean, I've done I've done Dan White, I've done people that have been around and aren't around anymore, people who are still around. So I put myself, I like putting myself in that position, because not only is it a cheat where you have a blueprint, that you can springboard from, but also, I don't know, it just ups the stakes. There's a lot more judgment involved, and there's a lot more room for failure involved. And I don't know, I like living from what I do, which is, this profession of pretend, and hoping to be able to kind of conjure the spirit of something. I like when there's high stakes.
Yeah, you're in a small club that has played a city or a president. And I'm wondering how long it's going to take before we see the Trump movies. Do you ever think about that?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
No, I don't think about the fiction that's going to come out of this insane fact.